homeless and desperate. Vanessa Cole spent her last dollars on a piece of land no one wanted. No house, no shelter, just dirt and a secret buried underneath. What she discovered below the surface would change her life forever. And what she built inside shocked everyone who saw it. This isn't just a survival story. This is how a homeless woman turned a hidden bunker into something no one thought was possible. But here's the question. Would you have taken that risk? Or walked away like everyone else? Stay until the end. Because what she creates will completely change how you see starting from nothing. Vanessa Cole, 39, once believed she had time to rebuild, time to recover, time to figure things out. But life didn't wait. It collapsed, fast, brutal, without warning. Just months ago, she was living a quiet, predictable life on the outskirts of Detroit. Nothing glamorous but stable, until the hospital bills came, one after another. Each envelope felt heavier than the last, draining not just her bank account, but her future. Savings gone, credit destroyed, and eventually the place she called home taken from her. Now, Vanessa walked alone through forgotten streets and abandoned lots, places most people avoided even during the day. The wind cut through her thin clothes as if she didn't exist. Her stomach ached, her body weakened. But it was the silence that terrified her most. No call, no help, no one looking for her. She wasn't just homeless, she was disappearing. And then on a cold, gray afternoon, something unusual stopped her in her tracks. A hidden piece of land. Dirt cheap, almost suspiciously so. Most people would ignore it. But Vanessa didn't, because deep down she knew this wasn't just another dead end. This was something else, something important. And if she walked away now, she might lose the last chance she would ever get. The room smelled faintly of dust, old paper, and quiet desperation, the kind of place people only went when they had nowhere else to turn. Vanessa Cole sat in the back row of a small county auction office, her fingers tightly wrapped around a folded slip of paper. It wasn't just a note. It was everything she had left. $1,842. That was it. Her entire world reduced to a number that wouldn't even cover a month's rent in most places. And yet, somehow, she was here surrounded by strangers flipping through property lists like it was just another ordinary day. But for Vanessa, this wasn't ordinary. This was survival. A man at the front began calling out listings for foreclosed homes, abandoned buildings, parcels of land no one wanted. Prices rose quickly, far beyond what she could even dream of offering. One by one, her options disappeared before she could even consider them. Then, halfway through the session, the tone shifted. "Next item," the auctioneer said, barely looking up. "Unregistered rural parcel, approximately half an acre, no visible structures. Starting bid $500. A few people glanced up, then back down. No photos, no details, just a vague note. Property includes subsurface anomaly. A ripple of quiet chuckles moved through the room. "Probably a sinkhole," someone muttered. "Or buried junk," another added. No one raised a hand. But Vanessa did. Her arm lifted slowly at first, almost unsure, like even her own body was questioning the decision. Her heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear the auctioneer repeat the price. 500. Do I hear 6? Silence. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Vanessa could feel every eye in the room without looking up. She wasn't like the others. They had choices. She didn't. Sold 500. The gavel struck. Just like that, it was hers. A piece of land no one wanted. Or maybe something more. An hour later, Vanessa stood alone at the edge of the property. The sky hung low and gray, pressing down like it knew what she had just done. The land itself looked exactly like everyone had expected, empty, uneven, overgrown with brittle weeds that crackled under her feet. No house, no shelter, no visible sign that anything of value had ever been here. For a brief, terrifying moment, doubt crept in. What have I done? She had just spent nearly a third of everything she had left on dirt. Cold, lifeless dirt. But then she remembered the line. Subsurface anomaly. Vanessa exhaled slowly, scanning the ground more carefully this time. If there was something hidden here, anything at all, she had to find it. Because if she didn't, she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. Minutes passed, then more. Her hands grew numb as she pushed aside debris, kicked at patches of hardened soil, and brushed away dead leaves. Nothing. Just more emptiness. Until... Clang! The sound was sharp, metallic, completely out of place. Vanessa froze. She looked down. Beneath her boot, partially buried under mud and rust-colored dirt, was something solid. Not rock, not concrete. Metal. Her breath caught. Dropping to her knees, she began digging with her bare hands, ignoring the sting as cold earth packed under her nails. Inch by inch, the shape revealed itself a flat surface, then edges, then something unmistakable. A hatch. Heavy, industrial, old. Her pulse surged. No way, she whispered, almost afraid to say it out loud. The handle was nearly fused with rust, but it was there, real, waiting. For a long moment, Vanessa just stared at it. This wasn't just land. This was something hidden, something forgotten, something no one else had seen, or cared to look for. Her hands trembled as she gripped the handle. It didn't budge at first. She pulled harder, nothing. Then again, putting every ounce of strength she had left into it. A deep, groaning creak split the silence. The hatch shifted. Air stale, ancient, and cold rushed upward from the darkness below, carrying with it the unmistakable scent of something long sealed away. Vanessa stumbled back, heart racing. She had just opened something that hadn't been touched in decades, maybe longer. She stepped closer, slowly, cautiously, and looked down. Pitch black. No bottom in sight, just a narrow metal ladder disappearing into the unknown. Every instinct told her to walk away. This wasn't safe. This wasn't normal. But then another thought pushed through the fear stronger, louder, impossible to ignore. This is yours now. Not the cold streets, not the back seat of her car. This, whatever it was, whatever waited down there. Vanessa swallowed hard, tightening her grip on the edge of the hatch. If she turned back now, she would go back to nothing. But if she climbed down, everything could change. Taking a shaky breath, she placed one foot onto the ladder, then the other. And without knowing it, Vanessa Cole began descending into the decision that would not only change her life, but shock everyone who would one day see what she built in the darkness below. The moment Vanessa Cole's feet touched the bottom of the ladder, the sound echoed sharp, hollow, final. She froze. For a second, she forgot to breathe. The darkness around her wasn't just absence of light. It felt alive, thick, suffocating. Like the space itself had been waiting silent and undisturbed for decades. Vanessa reached into her pocket, her fingers fumbling until they found the small flashlight she had taken from her car. Her hands trembled as she switched it on. A narrow beam cut through the black, and what it revealed made her heart stop. Concrete walls, massive, cold, reinforced. This wasn't just a hole in the ground. This was a bunker, a real one. The light moved slowly, scanning the space. Dust particles floated in the air like ghosts. Rusted pipes ran along the ceiling. A narrow corridor stretched ahead, disappearing into deeper darkness. Then she saw it. A door. Heavy steel, slightly ajar. Vanessa swallowed hard. Every instinct screamed at her to leave, to climb back up, to pretend she had never found this place. But she didn't move, because something else was pulling her forward, something stronger than fear. Hope. She stepped closer. Each footstep echoed louder than the last. The air grew colder, thicker, and then, crack. The sound exploded behind her. Vanessa spun around. The ladder. It shifted, just slightly, but enough to send a wave of panic crashing through her chest. What was that?" she whispered, her voice shaking. Silence answered. Deafening silence. Her breathing quickened. For a terrifying second, a thought crossed her mind. What if I'm not alone down here? She turned back toward the door. It was the only way forward. The only way to understand what this place really was, or what it had been. Vanessa pushed the door open. It groaned loudly, the sound dragging through the bunker like something waking up after a long sleep. Inside, everything changed. This wasn't just an empty shelter. This was preserved, frozen in time. Metal shelves lined the walls. Some collapsed, others still standing. Old cans, labels faded but still visible, were stacked in corners. A small table sat in the center, covered in dust but untouched. And then she saw it. A photograph. Vanessa stepped closer, her breath catching. She wiped the dust away with the edge of her sleeve. A family. A man, a woman, a little girl. Smiling, happy, alive. But the photo was old, very old. Her chest tightened. They had been here, living here, waiting here, hiding from something. Suddenly, the bunker didn't feel empty anymore. It felt abandoned, like people had left in a hurry, or worse, never made it out. Vanessa stepped back slowly, her mind racing. What happened to them? Her voice barely made a sound. The flashlight flickered. Once, twice, then steadied again. But that brief moment of darkness was enough, because in that split second, Vanessa felt it. A shift, not in the room, but inside her. Fear. Raw, immediate, overwhelming. This wasn't just a shelter. This place had a story. A heavy one. And she had just walked straight into it. She turned toward the ladder again. Still there. Still reachable. She could leave. Right now. Climb up. Walk away. Forget all of this ever happened. But then her eyes drifted back to the room. To the table. To the supplies. To the solid concrete walls that had survived decades underground. And for the first time since she lost everything, Vanessa saw something she hadn't felt in months. Security. Real physical safety. No wind. No strangers. No one telling her to move along. Just silence. And protection. Her fear didn't disappear, but it changed. It softened. Became something else. Something manageable. Vanessa took a slow breath. Then another. And then she made a decision. This place wasn't cursed. It wasn't a trap. It was an opportunity. Hidden, forgotten, waiting. The world above had taken everything from her. But down here, she could take something back. Vanessa stepped fully into the room. Her grip on the flashlight tightening, not out of fear anymore, but determination. She wasn't just exploring anymore, she was claiming it. And she had no idea yet that what she was about to build inside this forgotten bunker would one day leave people completely speechless. Vanessa Cole didn't sleep that night. Not because she couldn't, but because her mind refused to be quiet. She sat on the cold concrete floor, her back pressed against the wall, the dim flashlight resting beside her. The bunker was silent, so silent it almost felt unnatural. No wind, no distant traffic, no footsteps, just stillness. At first, that silence terrified her. Up above, noise meant life, movement, people. Even danger had a kind of reassurance to it. At least it meant she wasn't completely alone. But down here, it was different. Down here, there was nothing. And yet, somehow, that nothing began to feel like everything she had been searching for. Vanessa looked around again, slower this time, not with fear, but with attention. The walls weren't closing in on her. They were protecting her. The heavy steel door wasn't trapping her. It was shielding her. That shift, small, almost invisible, changed everything. Hours passed. Instead of thinking about what could go wrong, Vanessa began asking a different question. What if this works? She stood up, her body still weak, but her movements more certain now. The flashlight beam moved across the room again, but this time, she wasn't just observing. She was imagining. The broken shelves, they could be repaired. The rusted pipes, maybe still usable, or at least replaceable. The old table. With a little effort, it could become something functional again. For the first time in months, Vanessa wasn't thinking about surviving the next hour. She was thinking about tomorrow. She stepped deeper into the bunker, exploring corners she had been too afraid to approach before. Each step felt less like entering the unknown, and more like reclaiming something abandoned. Then she found another room, smaller, more enclosed. A narrow bed frame sat against the wall, bare, rusted, but still standing nearby. A set of drawers, one slightly open. Vanessa hesitated, then pulled it open. Inside, clothes, old, worn, but carefully folded. Not scattered, not abandoned carelessly, left behind. Deliberately, her chest tightened again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was connection. Whoever had been here, they weren't so different from her. They had needed safety. They had needed shelter. They had needed hope. Just like her. Vanessa sat down slowly on the edge of the metal frame. It creaked under her weight, but held. And in that moment, something inside her shifted completely. She wasn't an intruder here. She wasn't trespassing into someone else's story. She was continuing it. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she didn't wipe them away. Because for the first time since losing everything, they weren't tears of fear. They were something else. Relief. A quiet, overwhelming sense of maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe this place, hidden, forgotten, buried beneath the world, was exactly where she was meant to be. Vanessa stood up again, this time with purpose. Her shoulders straightened. Her breathing steadied. The exhaustion was still there. The hunger hadn't disappeared. The uncertainty of tomorrow still lingered. But something had changed. She wasn't reacting anymore. She was choosing to stay. Choosing to try. Choosing to believe, even if just a little, that this place could become something more than a shelter. It could become a home. She walked back toward the main room, her steps firmer now. The flashlight beam no longer shook. Instead of shadows, she saw possibilities. Instead of decay, she saw structure. Instead of darkness, she saw potential. Vanessa stopped in the center of the bunker and slowly turned in a full circle, taking it all in. "This could work," she whispered. And this time, she believed it. Above ground, nothing had changed. The world was still cold, still indifferent, still ready to forget her. But down here, Vanessa Cole had found something the surface could no longer give her: control. A place where no one could force her to leave. A place where she could rebuild, piece by piece, on her own terms. That night didn't end with fear. It ended with a decision. And decisions like that, they don't just change circumstances. They change identity. Vanessa wasn't just a homeless woman anymore. She was a builder, a survivor, someone standing at the edge of something unexpected, something powerful, something that, if she followed through, would transform not just this bunker, but her entire life. The first morning, Vanessa Cole woke up inside the bunker. She didn't panic. That alone was a miracle. For weeks, no, months, every time she opened her eyes, it was the same crushing reality: cold air, aching bones, uncertainty pressing down on her chest before she could even sit up. But here, it was different. The air was still cold but steady, predictable, not biting, not cruel. And for the first time in a long time, Vanessa didn't feel like she was fighting the world just to survive the next hour. She sat up slowly on the metal frame she had claimed as her bed, her muscles stiff but her mind clear. "This is real," she whispered to herself. And then, almost immediately, another thought followed, stronger, sharper. Now what? Because a bunker alone wasn't enough. Not yet. If she was going to stay, and deep down, she already knew she would, then this place needed to change. Fast. It needed light. It needed warmth. It needed life. Vanessa climbed back to the surface that morning with a new kind of urgency, not desperation. Purpose. She moved differently now. Faster. More focused. Like every second mattered again. The nearby abandoned lots she once wandered aimlessly through suddenly became resources. She wasn't just looking anymore. She was searching. An old broken cabinet behind a collapsed shed. Useful. A pile of discarded wooden planks near a construction site. Valuable. Even a cracked mirror leaning against a dumpster caught her attention. She dragged, carried, and pulled everything she could manage back to the bunker entrance, her hands blistering, her back aching, but she didn't stop. Because with every item she found, she wasn't just collecting junk, she was gathering pieces of a future. Back underground, the real work began. Vanessa started with light. The darkness had power, but she refused to let it control her. Using old battery packs she salvaged and bits of wiring from broken electronics, she began experimenting. It wasn't perfect, not even close. But after hours of trial and error, a small bulb flickered, then steadied. A weak glow filled the room. Vanessa froze, staring at it like it was something sacred. Light, real light. Tears filled her eyes again, but this time she smiled through them. "Okay," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Okay, we can do this." Next came warmth. The bunker held a temperature better than the outside, but it was still cold enough to wear her down over time. Vanessa layered what she could: old fabric, insulation scraps, even cardboard along the walls and around the sleeping area. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. Little by little, the space began to change, not just physically, but emotionally. It started to feel less like a shelter, and more like something personal. Days blurred together. Work, rest, work again. Vanessa lost track of time, but she didn't care, because every day brought progress. She reinforced the bed, turned the old table into a makeshift kitchen space, used salvaged containers to store water, even arranged the items she found carefully, intentionally, so the bunker no longer felt abandoned. It felt lived in. Then came the moment that changed everything. Vanessa hung the cracked mirror she had found against the wall. For a second, she hesitated. She hadn't really looked at herself in weeks. Maybe longer. Slowly, she stepped closer. The reflection staring back at her was tired, worn. Dirt smudged across her face, hair unkempt. But her eyes were different. They weren't empty anymore. They weren't defeated. They were alive, focused, fighting. Vanessa reached out, her fingers brushing lightly against the mirror's surface. "That's not the same person," she whispered. And she was right, because somewhere between the darkness, the silence, and the work, Vanessa had changed. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was building, creating, taking control in a way she hadn't felt in years. The bunker transformed with her. What was once cold, forgotten, and lifeless now held warmth, light, purpose. Every corner told a story of effort, of resilience, of refusal to give up. And yet, Vanessa knew this was only the beginning, because what she was creating here wasn't just a place to sleep. It was something bigger, something no one would expect, something that, if they saw it now, they wouldn't believe had been built by a woman who once had nothing left. Standing in the center of the bunker, surrounded by the results of her own determination, Vanessa took a deep breath. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid of tomorrow. She was ready for it. Weeks passed, though Vanessa Cole no longer counted them the way she used to. Time underground didn't move the same. Up above, every day used to feel like a countdown, another step closer to losing everything. But down here, time felt like progress. Every hour meant something had changed, something had improved, something had been built. And Vanessa, she was no longer the same woman who had hesitated at the edge of that hatch. Her movements had become sharper, more efficient. She woke up with purpose, ate what little she had with intention, worked until her muscles screamed, and then pushed just a little further. Because this place, this bunker, it wasn't just saving her, it was rebuilding her. But then, something unexpected happened. One night, as Vanessa adjusted the wiring for her makeshift lighting system, the bulb flickered violently, then went out. Total darkness swallowed the room. "Not now, please, not now," she whispered, her voice tight with panic. Her breathing quickened as she fumbled for the flashlight, but it didn't turn on. "Dead!" The silence returned, heavy, pressing. And suddenly, all the fear she thought she had conquered came rushing back. Vanessa pressed her back against the wall, her chest rising rapidly. "No, no, no, no." Her voice cracked, because in that moment, the truth hit her harder than anything before. She had built something here, but she was still fragile, still one failure away from losing it all again. Then, she heard it, a faint sound. Above her, footsteps. Vanessa froze, her entire body locked in place. Someone was up there. Her mind raced. Did someone see the hatch? Did they follow me? Are they going to take this too? The fear wasn't just about being found. It was about losing everything again. The footsteps grew louder. Closer. Then, clang. The sound of metal shifting echoed down the shaft. The hatch. Someone was opening it. Vanessa's heart pounded so hard it felt like it would give her away. She looked around desperately, her eyes struggling to adjust to the darkness. This place, her place, suddenly didn't feel safe anymore. A beam of light pierced through the opening above. Blinding, harsh, foreign. "Hello," a voice. Male, cautious. Not aggressive, but not friendly either. Vanessa didn't answer. She couldn't. Her throat had closed up completely. The ladder creaked. Someone was coming down. Every instinct told her to hide, but there was nowhere to go. No escape. No second exit. This was it. The man reached the bottom. His flashlight swept across the bunker fast, searching until it landed on her. Vanessa raised her hands instinctively, shielding her eyes. "Wait, please, I'm not." Her voice broke. The man paused. He looked at her, really looked, at her thin frame, her exhausted face. The space around her, the lights, the makeshift bed, the structure she had built with nothing. "You did this?" he asked quietly. Vanessa hesitated, then nodded. A long silence followed. Heavy, unreadable. "I bought the land," she said quickly, her words rushing out. "It's mine. I didn't steal anything. I just needed somewhere to go." Her voice trembled, but she didn't look away. Not this time. The man slowly lowered his flashlight. "I'm not here to take it," he said. Vanessa blinked. "What?" "I work maintenance for nearby properties," he explained. "I saw the hatch open, thought it was unsafe, didn't expect." He gestured around. Vanessa's chest rose and fell heavily. The fear didn't disappear, but it shifted. "You built all of this by yourself." She nodded again. The man let out a slow breath. He paused. "Kind of incredible." Vanessa didn't know what to say, because for so long no one had seen her. And now, someone did. But then his expression changed. More serious. "There's something you need to know," he said. Vanessa's stomach dropped. "This bunker," he continued slowly, "it's not on any official records, which means if the county finds out you're living down here..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Vanessa's heart sank. "They'll take it," she whispered. The man didn't answer, but his silence said everything. For a moment, everything she had built felt like it was slipping through her fingers again. All the work, all the hope, gone, just like before. But then, something inside her refused to break. Vanessa straightened her posture. Her fear didn't disappear, but it no longer controlled her. "I'm not leaving," she said. Her voice was quiet, but steady. The man looked at her surprised. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Then you're going to need help," he said. And just like that, everything changed again. Because Vanessa realized something she hadn't allowed herself to believe before. She didn't have to do this completely alone anymore. But what neither of them knew, was that the real challenge? The one that would test everything she had built, everything she had become, was still coming. And it would change her life in ways she never saw coming. The first person didn't believe it. Neither did the second. Or the third. And by the time word began to spread, people weren't just curious anymore, they were stunned. Because what stood before them didn't make sense. It started with something simple. The man who had discovered Vanessa, his name was Connor Blake, hadn't walked away after that night. True to his word, he came back. Not with pity, but with tools, with supplies, with quiet respect. At first, it was just small improvements. Stronger wiring, safer connections, a proper battery system. Then insulation, reinforced panels, a better airflow system. What Vanessa had started, Connor helped stabilize. But what came next? That was all her. Weeks turned into months. And somewhere in that time, the bunker stopped being a project. It became a transformation. Vanessa didn't just build a place to survive. She designed something no one expected. Soft lighting replaced the harsh glare of exposed bulbs, warm. Golden tones bouncing gently off the walls. The once cold concrete was partially covered with reclaimed wood panels, giving the space texture, life. She created sections intentional spaces, a sleeping area that felt private, a small kitchen corner, organized and clean. Even a quiet nook with the old photographs she had found now framed, honored, no longer forgotten. But the most powerful change was something you couldn't touch. You could feel it. The moment you stepped inside, it no longer felt like a bunker. It felt like a home. And then, one morning, something happened that Vanessa never planned for. Connor didn't come alone. He brought someone else, then another, then more. At first, Vanessa panicked. "This isn't a tour," she said, her voice tense. "I didn't build this for people to just come and look." But Connor gently shook his head. "They need to see this," he said quietly. Reluctantly, Vanessa stepped aside. The hatch opened. One by one, people climbed down. And then, silence. Not the cold, empty silence she once feared, but a different kind. The kind that happens when people don't know what to say, because they're witnessing something they didn't think was possible. A woman covered her mouth. A man slowly turned in a full circle, eyes wide. Another whispered, This was underground." Vanessa stood there, her hands slightly clenched, her heart pounding not from fear, but from something unfamiliar, vulnerability, because for the first time, people were seeing her, not as a problem, not as someone to ignore, but as someone who had created something extraordinary. "You did all of this?" one woman asked softly. Vanessa hesitated, then nodded. The reaction wasn't what she expected. There was no judgment, no skepticism, only respect, genuine, unfiltered. "That's incredible," someone said. "I've never seen anything like this. You turned nothing into this." Vanessa felt her chest tighten, not from fear, but from emotion she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. Pride. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't hide them. Not anymore, because this place, this hidden, forgotten bunker, was no longer just where she survived. It was proof that she hadn't been broken, proof that she hadn't been erased, proof that even after losing everything, she was still capable of creating something beautiful. As more people stepped inside, the energy shifted. What started as curiosity became inspiration. Conversations sparked, ideas formed, and suddenly, Vanessa's story wasn't just hers anymore. It was something bigger, a blueprint, a possibility, a reminder that even in the darkest, most forgotten places, something powerful can still be built. Vanessa walked slowly to the center of the bunker, looking around at the space she had once entered in fear. Now, it glowed with warmth, with life, with meaning. She took a deep breath. For the first time, she didn't feel like she was hiding from the world. She felt like she had built something the world needed to see. And as the hatch remained open, light from above, blending with the warmth below, one thing became undeniable. What Vanessa Cole created in silence would no longer stay hidden, because sometimes the most powerful transformations don't happen where everyone is looking. They happen in the dark, And when they finally come to light, they don't just surprise people, they change them. Vanessa's journey proves one powerful truth. The greatest opportunities are often hidden in places others ignore. What looked like worthless land became a life-changing chance, only because she was willing to take a risk when no one else would. Rock bottom isn't the end. It's the moment you decide whether to give up or rebuild. Vanessa didn't wait for help. She used what she had, where she was, and turned nothing into something meaningful. Sometimes, starting from zero isn't a disadvantage. It's freedom. When life feels uncertain, don't just look for obvious solutions. Look closer. Opportunities are often disguised as problems, risks, or things others overlook. Start small. Use what you have. Take one step forward. Because rebuilding your life doesn't require perfect conditions. It requires action.